Gasoline prices had already jumped more than 40% from last year, and that was before Hurricane Ida cut through the Gulf of Mexico, through Louisiana, and through Mississippi, where widespread power outages will complicate efforts to restore refinery and pipelines. How long could this last, and how bad will the damage be? Joining me now is Richard Joswick. He's head of global oil analytics at S&P Global Platts. Richard, it's good to see you. First of all, how's the damage this morning as we know?
Well, a lot of facilities are out of power, and roughly 2 million barrels a day of capacity are offline right now. But luckily, the storm missed many of the more vulnerable areas, and it could have been worse. It could have been up to 4 million barrels a day that are out.
Is that about 12% of supply, roughly speaking?
Well, let's put it in terms of gasoline. That's like 750,000 barrels a day of gasoline. And, in the United States, we consume over 8.5 million barrels. So, that it's a big number. That volume typically is supplied not just to the Gulf Coast area, but also goes up a pipeline, the Colonial Pipeline system, to the U.S. East Coast. And it's also exported. Mexico really relies on U.S. gasoline exports. So really, all three regions are a little bit vulnerable here to this loss of capacity.
So we've seen a lot of shortages crop up for various supply chain reasons over the past year or so. Are we going to see a repeat of that?
Well, from the refiner's perspective and the terminals, I don't think so. There's roughly 8 million barrels of extra inventory in the U.S. Gulf Coast above what would be like a minimum level. U.S. East Coast is a little bit tighter, but 8 million barrels of capacity that could cover this outage for a couple of weeks, let's say. So at the refinery level, we're probably okay. At the terminal level, we're okay. The question we always have is there panic buying? That's what happened when we had the cyber attack, the ransomware attacks, and other things where people start filling up their gas tanks. There really is no call for that. There is no shortage now, and there doesn't need to be a shortage over the next few weeks.
I understand that one of the things we're waiting to find out is just how long refineries will be without power. That the situation today from a storm that hit yesterday is not so much about what's happened in the past 24 hours, but about if these outages persist for a week or 2 weeks or even 3 weeks, right?
That's correct. Most of the refiners learned their lesson from Katrina. They hardened their refineries. They moved their equipment up above typical water levels. They made it more resistant to wind. So the facilities are likely not damaged or not extensively damaged. The key question is, when will they get their power back? Now, we've been looking at Entergy, what they're supplying, and several refineries have power right now. So it's not like the whole region is down. Several major refiners still don't have power. We would expect 1 to 2 weeks for facilities to come back, assuming that Entergy works at getting power back. Then the refiners have to go in and assess if there's any damage, and then the restart process typically takes a couple of days. So if this is over in 1 or 2 weeks and supplies are adequate for 1 or 2 weeks, we'll probably be okay.